Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on creating a manufactured item in ManuDyn Cloud 9. To access the manufactured items screen, go to the database entry menu group and click the manufactured items menu item. The manufactured items screen is the same as the material items screen and either can be used to create material or manufactured items. The only difference is that when you click the item code lookup search button, the default filter is set to the menu item you selected. In the field located in the blue toolbar, we need to enter the item code that we want to create or modify. I will create an item called CUSDES-widget. As this is a manufactured item, the tick box for manufactured item is already ticked. The system has loaded in the attributes for the entered item code. If we have entered a new record, the attributes tab will be blank. I will start entering the description for this item. Widget using cold rolled 12L14 0.625. Note I have prefixed the item code with CUSDES- as CUSDES is the customer code that I am making this product for. By adding this prefix, I can easily identify items that have been created for each customer. For more information on coding systems, see the video titled Creating an Item Coding System in ManuDyn. Next, I will identify the item as being measured in units. The standard cost field should be set to 0 if you want the system to calculate the cost when the item is quoted using the material and routing information that we will enter. If you set a fixed cost, it will only affect the parts explosion during the quoting stage. Next, set the product type that this item belongs to. Product types can be used to group similar products for reporting, quoting, or for activating critical sizes. If you need help in creating product types, please view the Getting Started Configure Product Types video. The person entering the data should enter their initials into the Estimator Initials field. We will skip the Stores tab as it was covered in the Creating an Item video and instead click on the Suppliers tab. Your system's company code will be listed as the supplier. The system does this to identify that we will be manufacturing this item. If you had the option of purchasing it elsewhere, you could also enter those supplier details by clicking on an empty row in the grid. Next, click on the Sales tab. The Sales tab can be used to define a price list with unlimited sales categories defined in System Settings General Options. I'm not going to worry about a price list, as I'm going to prepare a quote for this item instead. Next, we set the bill of material information by clicking on the Materials tab. The Materials grid displays the bill of materials for this item. To edit or view a material entry, click on the corresponding row in the grid. To enter a new entry, click on the empty row at the bottom of the grid. Either type in a material's item code or click on the Lookup Search button. I will select the material I created in the Creating an Item video 030-C12L14-0.625 hex. The system will load in the default information for this material, including the supplier price list. I can change the supplier and price by clicking on a row in the supplier price list. In my example, I will set the quantity of this material to be used to make 1 unit of this item as 0.1. An unlimited number of materials can be added if required. Next, we will identify the process routing for the item by clicking on the Routing tab. The routing grid displays the list of processes for this item. To edit or view a process entry, click on the corresponding row in the grid. To enter a new entry, click on the empty row at the bottom of the grid. Select the work area from the list for this process. If a formula was defined for this work area, you will be prompted to enter the formula parameter values. In my case, I have a parameter called number of passes, for which I will enter a value of 4. The defaults for the selected work area will be loaded. Alter these as necessary for this process. Click OK to return this information to the grid display. An unlimited number of processes can be added if required. When finished entering my processes, you can also upload any related drawings for this item by clicking on the Attachments tab and adding a file. I have now finished entering my item, and since I haven't made any changes on this tab, I can just close the record by clicking the Close button at the bottom of the tab. One of the most powerful features of the ManuDyn system is its ability to create a complex bill of materials with an unlimited number of sub-assembly items listed in its part construction. A sub-assembly is just another part, and to link it into a final assembly, we need to call it up in the bill of that part. For example, let's create a new manufactured item called Final Assembly. In the field located in the blue toolbar, we need to start by entering the item code that we want to create or modify. If you have not closed the previous item, then you can select the new icon to close it and initiate the item code field so you can enter the new item code. I want to create a manufactured item called Final Assembly. Select the tab or click the description field to move into the Attributes tab. Type in a description, set the standard cost to 0, and move directly to the Materials tab. Select an empty row at the bottom of the grid to recall the Bill of Materials Items Details dialog. We can either enter the sub-assembly part code directly into the material code, or we can use the lookup search icon to recall the sub-assembly part code. Note that the lookup search option is set to all, so we can recall manufactured parts as well as material items at this stage. I am going to include the CUS-DUS widget part we created earlier as a sub-assembly in this final assembly part. The item details have been recalled, and all we need to do is set the quantity of the sub-assembly part required to make 1 unit of the final assembly part. There are some things you should note about this item. Firstly, the supplier is U. This is how the system recognized a sub-assembly item. Secondly, the price field is set to 0 by default. This will cause the system to perform a parts explosion to determine the cost of the item based on its material and routing construction. If you don't want the system to do this when quoting, then you should set a fixed price. Doing so will cause this prompt to be displayed. We want an explosion to take place when quoting this final assembly, so I will set the price back to 0. To save the bill of material item, select the OK button at the bottom of the Items dialog. You can enter additional items at this stage to be included in the bill of material for its final assembly, including other manufactured items or other material items. There is no limit to the construction on the final assembly part, including the number of levels of sub-assemblies. All parts should contain processes and in this case the process I want to select is called assemble. Once you have entered the processing detail, select the OK button at the bottom of the Details dialog. You can enter notes or drawings as required. To save the part, select the OK button at the bottom of the page. If you need to enter additional materials or manufactured items, you can do so now by typing in a new item code. Once you are finished, you can return to the home page by clicking the home icon at the top left of the screen, or by clicking on the exit button in the toolbar. Before we leave this video, I want to note that the definition of the manufactured item is critical to the operation of the ManuDyn system. The bill of material you define in the Material tab will be what you purchase when a sales order is raised for this part, and the Routing tab defines how you will make it and schedule it through production. If the part definition is inaccurate, then so too will be your purchasing and scheduling. In the next video tutorial, we will create a quote record in the system. Click on the link to start the next video.